Hey everyone, welcome to the 10 and 2 podcast. My name is Kat.
And I'm Katlen.
And we're here every week talking watches, photography, adventure, and exploring the world of horology. How are you today?
I am doing very well. How are you doing, Kat?
I'm good.
Yeah.
We have a fun show today. We're doing another watch review, which we've kind of liked doing these watch reviews on Fridays. They're quick, they're short, and you guys seem to love them, so we'll continue on with them.
Yeah.
But we've got the Rado Captain Cook today.
Yeah.
This was really fun.
This was fun. So Rado reached out to us, and, so we've started developing a bit of a relationship with them, and they sent us a couple watches to check out, just to get some experience with the brand, because I don't think either of us have really handled anything from them.
No,
obviously,
I personally haven't.
We know of them. And we've looked at the watches. I think we've talked about the Captain Cook even a couple of times on the show, but very excited to have finally gotten some hands-on experience with it.
Yeah, we got one of the thin line collection, which was the all ceramic blue dial, blue watch, which was actually really fun to play around with. Very weird, very strange having an all ceramic watch.
Blue thing you could ever
so
imagine.
Blue. I've got some really cool pictures that I'll continue posting, but it's a really fun. It's not for me. I think it's a little too childlike for my taste, but it's still really cool. And I just wonder,
it has so much personality and not enough personality kind of all together. I don't know. I'm still undecided on how I really feel about it. But like what you said, the ceramic is what gets to you, because I've talked about this on the show so many times that I struggle with titanium watches because of the weight, and the ceramic is like 10 times lighter, I felt like, than the titanium.
Really?
I felt it was incredibly light. It was almost like you were carrying nothing, and it was such a thin watch.
Very
on top
thin.
of that. Like,
So
they are
thin.
not playing when they say thin line.
Yeah.
So it was something that I really struggled with in that way, but I did like it. Like, it's cool. It's kind of funky just to have, like, I like it as something different to add to the collection. It would not be like an everyday watch to me, but just for something totally different. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And it comes on like all the colors.
A million colors. I think you can even buy a set and you can get several colors in one box set. I mean, it's quite expensive, but if you wanted to have options, I mean, it's kind of cool.
It's like, instead of changing your watch strap, you can just have one of everything.
Well, yeah, that's what I do every day. I just change the watch. But no, the Captain Cook, I think we've both been a fan of. Yes. Just being completely honest, I'm not a huge Rado fan as far as their whole collection, but I do like the Captain Cook. I always have liked their divers, and they did a green dial a while back that I really liked as well. But we're excited to check out the blue dial, and thanks to Rado for sending it in to us. All right, so before we dive too deep into our questions, let's go over a little bit of history and specs on the watch. If you haven't listened to one of our reviews before, we tend to go over this a little bit quicker because most
stuff you can find on the internet.
Yeah, you can go directly to their website and Google it, and it's there. But it's something we do want to talk about just because of our experience with the watch. So the watch was actually brought up in 1962, and recently they have started doing these reissues of the watch. Of course, it's bigger because modern day, the watches are bigger now than they were then. I mean, that's no surprise. They do a 42 millimeter. They also do a 45 millimeter. They also do a 37 millimeter.
Yeah.
So there's options, which I like. I think we both like options.
And I think what I like about it is the options are so different.
Yeah.
So there's a clear distinction in how everything will fit on your wrist, and so you can definitely tell what would work for your wrist size.
Right. And there's different colors, correct?
Yeah. So many different colors.
Yeah.
So of the larger sizes, there is gray, green, brown, and blue. So we actually had the blue one in for review. Now in the small size, there's also a white dial version in that 37 millimeter. And of course, we are suckers for white dials and white bezels. So definitely kind of feeling that one for sure. There's one version that has like the diamond markers and a mesh bracelet, which looks very nice as well for a lady.
Yeah, I actually dig the mesh on it. Their bracelet options, by the way, are really nice. So you can get it on the mesh, which is pretty rare. I think it's only with the smaller ones.
I think it's only with that one model, actually.
And then most of them come on a beads of rice bracelet, which kind of gives into that vintage appeal. And then the one that we got was actually on the more oyster style bracelet that has the polished outer links, which again, all the bracelets look really, really good. And of course, it comes on a leather strap too if you want that option.
Yeah, and they give you an option to buy, like, you can purchase this strap kit basically. So for a couple of extra $100, I think it's like $200 or $300, you get 2 strap options and you get a really nice leather watch wallet, which is really cool. I love the wallets. I just love the way that they fold over. You can store everything in there really easily. It's a very nice presentation, so that's another option as well.
So getting into a little bit of the watch's history, back in 1962 when the Captain Cook came out, there was also the Diastar, which was another watch that Rado did. Now that watch was marketed as the world's first scratch-proof watch, which is kind of cool. Now I've seen many
because it used hard metal and sapphire crystal.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Rado's very big into like them being revolutionary in materials. Yeah, and they take great pride in that. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. So this watch also was named in honor of the 18th century explorer, Captain James Cook. And this watch kind of ties into that because, according to Rado, the watch was made for modern day explorers, which as a dive watch, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's pretty cool. I like the name. Yeah. I mean, it just sounds really cool to me, Captain Cook.
It sounds like it was something important for sure. But yeah, so let's breeze through some specs real fast. Yeah. So like we mentioned, we are reviewing the blue dial, but it does come in other color variations as well. A 300-meter water-resistant watch with screw-down crown. It uses the ETA C07.611 caliber, which has an 80-hour power reserve, as well as being 42 millimeters. The crown adds an additional 3 millimeters on this watch. So when you measure across and include the crown, it's actually 45 millimeters. The lug to lug on this, and this really surprised Kat and I, is 48.5 millimeters because this watch wears so huge.
Yeah.
I was convinced the lug to lug had to have been at least like 54 millimeters.
I was, because when we got the watch, I think one of the first things I texted you was, man, this lug to lug has got to be long, because the way the bracelet sits, they don't fall straight down at the lugs. Yeah. They stick out. And even it fit me well, but I was like, in my mind, I was thinking this has got to be over 50.
It fit us well. We both have like a 6 1/4 ish,
6.5 ish.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I don't know. I don't measure my watches. I just like whatever works. Yeah, so between a 6 1/4 and 6.5, depending on the time of year and how humid it is outside.
Yes, definitely.
Inch wrist. And literally, if it were any larger, I don't think it would have sat on top of my wrist.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, the lug seemed absolutely ginormous. And even so, I was looking at the larger size. It has a 57 millimeter lug to lug.
Ooh.
There's no way we could wear that.
That one would be too much.
There's absolutely no
at
way.
45 millimeters, I'm probably not going to wear that watch anyway. This watch borderlined on what I like in a dive watch, especially. I think it worked for me on Bracelet. We didn't get a chance to check out their strap, and I didn't change the strap while we had it. We had it for such a short period of time. But I think I would prefer wearing it on Bracelet than a strap. Having said that, it might even fit better on a strap.
Yeah.
Because it might go down a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe.
It wasn't bad, though.
It wasn't bad.
We didn't have a problem with it.
I definitely don't have a problem with it. It's just definitely something to consider if you have a smaller wrist.
Yes, definitely.
I would definitely recommend trying this one on. This isn't one that I would necessarily buy sight unseen without trying on first.
And the good thing about Rado is that you can pretty much find them at a lot of ADs and boutiques.
For sure.
This is a well available watch, so there shouldn't be any issue there.
The thickness of it is 12.3 millimeters, which is not terribly bad. It looks like it would be thicker, but I mean, we measured it out ourselves, and that's exactly where it sits at. And you have 20 millimeter lugs. The bracelet. So Kat mentioned there are a couple of different bracelet options. So this one that we had was for the oyster styled bracelet, where it has the high polish
outer links,
thank you. And the brush setter, I always mix up which
I know,
is which. There's also one that's on a beads of rice. Yeah, there's a beads of rice version of it as well. Now, the bracelets are really cool because on the back of the bracelet, it has like it basically has a quick release on the spring bar.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to use a tool.
I was actually really surprised by that. So
I've never seen a bracelet that offered that.
I didn't either, but I have some mixed feelings about it because I like that it's so quick and easy to change the bracelet to a strap without using any tools.
Yeah.
However, for a dive watch, it scares me a little because I'm scared that
the security
because if something gets caught in one of those, because it's got a double push, it's not just like the ones you normally see on quick release straps that you buy. It's got two, so either one of those, if they get pushed in by anything, your bracelet's coming off.
Fair enough.
You might lose the watch in the water, and that kind of scares me.
Yeah.
But if you're not going anywhere near water and you want to take that chance,
it's
that's a nice option to have.
Valid concern. It is a nice option to have.
And no more scratching the back of your lugs.
So you also have a blue ceramic bezel on this. Now there are no applied markers at all.
Yeah.
No applied logo. Nothing is applied. It's all just stamped on there. But you do have a screw down case back and a bubble sapphire crystal that has anti-reflective coating.
Yeah.
That covers all the specs, I think.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah. Let's dive into the good stuff.
Okay.
This is my favorite part.
All right. So since you guys have probably listened to some of our reviews before, that's all your facts, and now we're just giving you our thoughts about it. So what we've done is we have 5 questions that we as collectors and as enthusiasts ask. If you guys hear thunder, it's like storming like crazy outside, even though it's sunny. So welcome to Tennessee. But yeah, so 5 questions that we as enthusiasts ask if we're considering purchasing a watch. So the first one being, what is our favorite and least favorite feature? So starting with our favorites, Kat, what is your favorite thing about this watch?
My favorite thing is definitely the dial. I liked the radiant transition from light to dark, and it came through really well in pictures too. A lot of times you see that sunburst effect in person, but when you try to take a photograph of it, it doesn't show. And other people can't. And my Manta's that way a little bit. Sometimes you can't see the sunburst effect. And this is not really sunburst. It's more of a gradient, I would say.
Yeah.
And it came through beautifully in photographs. Not that matters, but I just want to reiterate that you can see what it actually looks like in photos. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite thing. It's just a really well done blue, and I'm picky about all my colors. I guess I shouldn't really pick out one color specifically, but I say that I'm picky about my blues, and I have like 5 blue watches now, which is crazy. Maybe I'm not so picky about blue watches, but I do. I love the dial on this thing. It's just stunning, and it's beautiful.
No, I agree. The dial photographs so well. I feel like any photo you've seen of the dial on Instagram, wherever,
it's pretty true to form.
That's pretty true.
Yeah.
Like, you can touch it up whatever all you want, but the dial genuinely looks that good.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things about the dial is the logo.
Oh yeah. So the logo is really cool because back in the 60s, when they originally started putting that anchor on there, that anchor actually moves. So as you rotate the watch on your arm, that anchor will kind of flip around and move. That indicates now that the watch is an automatic watch. However, back in the day, if that anchor stopped moving, it meant that your watch needed service, which is really cool. And I like that. That's like, it's an indicator.
I really
like,
would
hey,
like to know how that works.
I don't know. I'm really interested. And unfortunately, I could not find any information on that on Rado's website. So if anyone has more information on that, any old catalogs or something like that, please send it to us, because that's so interesting to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's super cool. This storm has
Jesus,
us
it's like coming down.
You know, it's so humid outside right now too.
I know.
Like,
I don't want to go
we're
out
not
there.
going outside. Can I just spend the night here?
That's why I'm wearing a hat today.
Yeah, I don't even want to go to my car later. Okay, back to the review.
Yeah.
I would definitely be very interested to know how that works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And why they don't do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the service intervals are probably way longer than they used to be, but I'd still think that would be kind of a cool thing to have for people that, especially since this is kind of a mass-produced Swiss brand. I would say that would help a lot of people that are not familiar with automatic watches, maybe having some sort of indicator like that.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah, it's a cool little feature I liked a lot. What about you? What's your favorite thing about the watch?
The bezel.
Yeah.
I love this bezel. I mean, the dial also equally gorgeous, but the blue bezel, it is just really one of those shades of blue that's absolutely phenomenal. It's not quite a navy. It's not quite that dark, but it really does look absolutely amazing. I love the contrast with the numerals. It just works really well.
And the numerals aren't white on here. They're almost like a silvery gray.
Yeah, they match more like the bracelet. And I like that. It's a little bit more subtle. It doesn't have like the dive dot at the 12 o'clock, which we can get into that a little later when we talk about suiting its purpose. But yeah, it's different. I like the concave pattern to it too, or the design to it. It kind of helps seal the vintage appeal of this watch, that it's essentially a vintage reissue diver, and it has a good click to it. So I definitely like that.
So the ceramic here versus what I've noticed in other watches, it's not like overly shiny, the finishing on it, so it's a little bit more subtle. But yeah, it's really well done. I agree. That's a good feature.
Okay, so let's talk about least favorite feature. What do you like absolute least about this watch?
Least, I'm gonna go with the hour markers here. So it's not that I would want applied hour markers, because I agree that the way they did it kind of gives into that vintage appeal and reissue look that they're going for. But I wasn't impressed with how it looked on the dial. It looked a little cheap, if I'm just being completely honest. It wasn't as well done as the rest of the watch. It's like they put a lot of thought and a lot of quality control to everything else, and that just lacked a little bit for me. It was very thin. I would have liked to seen a little bit more depth with the lume, a little bit more paint on there, and it just lacked for me.
Yeah.
So that's my least favorite thing about the watch.
Yeah, and you from the beginning, you texted me about that.
Yeah. It was one of the first things I noticed when I took it out of the case.
I definitely could see that. For me, it's the date wheel.
The date wheel.
Yeah, and I know you like the date wheel.
I do.
So it has a white date wheel, which is not
white.
My problem.
It's like silver.
Okay. That's not my problem, though.
Oh, what's your problem?
No, my problem is that the numerals are red on the date wheel.
You don't like that?
I do not like it.
I love that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
See, I love it. So they actually make a version, which if you're a fan of the Tudor LHD Pelagos, they make a version of Captain Cook that is almost like this brown silver dial with vintage Fotina lume, red date wheel. It gives off a very Pelagos vibe. Obviously, it's not that watch, but if you like that colorway, this is another great option that's a little bit cheaper. But no, I love that red date wheel. I'm a fan.
I'm not a fan.
Man,
not a fan of the
that's
red
okay.
print.
That's okay.
We
can disagree.
It's okay. At the end of the day, it wouldn't completely deter me from purchasing this watch.
Because it's a nice watch.
I don't hate it enough to just be like,
Yeah,
but for
it's
me,
not for you.
it's something that I noticed. So.
And I do know they have versions that don't have that red date wheel, so there's always that option too. But most of them do have it.
The blue one that's so pretty has it.
Yeah.
What about the gray one?
It has it.
Yeah,
it has it.
Both
Sorry.
the best colors. Man, dang it.
All right, so going into our next question, how versatile do you think this watch is on a scale to 1 to 10?
I give it like a 6.
Okay.
It's a
on a
beautiful
what
watch.
end of the spectrum? Too sporty or too
sporty?
Too sporty.
Yeah,
okay.
It's way too sporty. As far as versatility, now, and again, this is a question that we asked because we particularly like versatile watches. That being said, we have some overly sporty watches that are in our collection, so we're not hating on it,
but we know how often they get worn too.
Exactly. And so with this here, you do have something. It's absolutely stunning. The dial, the bezel, the case shape, and the design. It is a beautiful watch, but it's so sporty. This is not a watch that you can throw on a bunch of different straps. Like you could do rubber straps. I don't even know that the way that the lugs kind of curve just a little bit, but not a lot. I don't even know that it would look particularly good on a NATO strap.
Yeah.
I think that you're pretty limited to wearing it on the bracelet or on a rubber strap. There are sports watches that you can throw on a leather strap and make them a little bit more kind of, business formal or business casual or something along those lines.
Yeah.
This is definitely not one of them. I'm not hating on it. It's just kind of how I feel about the versatility of it.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I'm actually in the same boat as you today.
Okay.
I went 6 out of 10, and same thing. I think this watch kind of falls in the middle of it. It's not really like a really great diver, and we'll get into that a little bit here in a few minutes, but it's also not like this dress watch either. So it's like it's kind of a little bit of everything, but not enough of anything, if that makes any sense.
That does make a lot of sense, actually.
And I think for me, the blue that we had, I think if you had the black or the gray, it actually might be a little bit more versatile as far as dressing it up. But this blue version, even on leather, it's going to be really, really hard to dress up and wear on a formal occasion. So, 6 out of 10 for me on that.
Okay. I think that's a very good observation.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm glad we agreed.
What don't we agree on? The Pelagos, the new, or not the Pelagos, the new Black Bay. That's what we don't agree on. Okay, so next question: does the Captain Cook suit its designated purpose?
Okay. My answer was like yes and no. Yes, because it's 300 meter water resistant, which is quite a bit. I mean, screw down crown. This thing's ready to go diving. However, I think with the bracelet, the quick release, I don't like that for a dive, like for a true dive watch. I think that's a point of weakness that I'm really scared about for people that are going to take this watch diving. And I think legibility a little bit was on the lower side for me. The lume wasn't the best either. They do use Super Luminova. I'm not sure if we covered that before. I would have liked for it to have been a little bit brighter. And it's something that I do with all the watches we get in. If I have the time, I'll try to take some lume shots. And that's usually kind of my test to see how bright the watch is in a dark room. I'll let it light up and then I'll turn the lights off and sit in there with it like a loser for 10 minutes.
It's fine.
While my husband's wondering, why is Kat in the closet with the lights off in a watch? Like, what is she doing?
That's like what you're supposed to, like when I first buy a watch, I'm always, when I get it home, I take it to the bathroom. And then I'm the weirdo who I'm like, Tyler, come look at this in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like,
I gotta show you something.
Weirdo. Yeah. Or if I get something really cool at work that I know has amazing lume,
yeah.
I do the same thing. I take it into the bathroom. It's whatever.
Yeah.
We're weird.
We are weird. But yeah, so I kind of give it a yes and no. It's still a fantastic watch. It's something I would wear. It's just, I don't know if it's completely 100% suits what its purpose is. It's supposed to be an explorer's watch, as Rado states. It's a great watch if you want to take it hiking and doing other activities. I just don't know about diving per se. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of the same things. If it's designed as an explorer's watch, well, what do you really look for in an explorer's watch? Like, this covers everything. It's durable. It definitely would function very well with that. But to me, when you have a watch that has a screw down crown and 300 meters water resistant and a dive bezel, you're making a dive watch.
Yeah.
And I love the aesthetics of this watch. I really do. But like you said, legibility does become an issue. With that bubble crystal, legibility around the edges can be an issue anyway because you have a lot of distortion. But then you have like the way the blue, like the dial almost reflects a bit more. And I could see that underwater as being a bit of an issue as well. I didn't even think about the whole thing with the bracelet. I thought it was cool with the bracelet. And it is cool, but I do see your point where if you were to be, reaching for something on some sort of dive gear or something like that, netting, things like that are so small that you could totally get your watch caught under that and get that quick release caught.
Yeah. And that being said, I think the way they have it formed when I was messing with it, you can put a normal spring bar in there. Okay. But if you're someone that buys a watch and wears it and without even thinking about it, or you might have bought this watch and didn't even realize it, that's just something to point out.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm like 50-50.
Okay, so next question. Do you think this watch provides a fair value for its cost, which is $2,100?
I think it's tough. First of all, and we've talked about this a couple of times, I think. It's tough because at this $2,000, between $2,000 and $3,000, there's so much.
A lot.
There's a whole lot out there. And I think this is an amazing, I'm not saying it's not worth $2,000. Like, genuinely, the finishing was well done. The bezel's well done. Everything is very well done on this watch. Our job is to be a little nitpicky because honestly, if we weren't, you guys would just be like, "Oh, y'all are
y'all like everything,"
which we do. Like, let's be honest. If you follow us on Instagram, we like almost everything. It's ridiculous. Like things too much apparently because we spend all the money. But yeah, so it's a little tough. I don't think it's not worth the money at all. So I think it does provide a pretty fair value. Now, I do like to always kind of compare it with a few other things, especially at this price point. At this price point, like I said, you're in a really tight spot. You have the Manta Ocean King, which is around the same price point, and again honestly offers more for its value, realistically. You own one. I've messed around, I've borrowed it. We've had Manta send us one.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of experience with the Ocean King to be able to say that it offers too much for its cost.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Don't tell Manta that. Price increase, y'all.
Yeah, everybody's going to start banning our podcast because we encourage brands to raise their prices. Just don't raise them with us, y'all. So the Ocean King is definitely a big competitor. I would consider it more a true dive watch. Oh, when we talked about like the dive watch thing, it doesn't even have the dot at the bezel. So I don't know that you can really consider it a dive watch. Like I said, it's an explorer watch. It's trying to be a dive watch. It's cool. I love it. I do like it. Ocean King, and then the Oris Diver 65. If we're talking vintage reissue divers, the Oris Diver 65 offers a lot. There's a lot of variation. Now, it's a very different looking. It's a little bit more slim, smaller size as well. So it does have a different vibe, but it's right there at that price point. They both offer a ton of bang for buck, I feel like. So it would be hard to pick, but if you really just want it for a bigger size, then the Rado is definitely the way to go here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it sits pretty fair for where it stands right now. Again, like you mentioned, there is a lot of competition in like that, I would say $1,800 to $2,500 range.
Yeah.
And I mean, this watch sits there because they have a smaller version that's a little bit cheaper. They have this one. They have the one that's more expensive that comes with the watch wallet and straps. So it kind of covers all of those basis too. So for me, I think some things that I would compare it to, you've got the Seiko Prospex, the SPB 143, which I think is a great dive watch, similar vintage appeal, similar style, bracelet, straps, and that comes in at $1,200. And that's, I mean, to me, it's a really badass watch for the money. And then something that's a little bit more vintage inspired is the Longines Skin Diver that comes in at $2,600, so it's a little bit more expensive, but you get a lot of history with that one, and again, a really well done reissue. So yeah, I think, but again, I agree with you. I think that this watch does sit, just having hands-on experience and with other watches, I think it's pretty fair. Yeah,
no, for sure. And I think it offers a very different look than other divers in this price point. That's for sure.
It does. And if we're being honest, like you could go to your local boutique, you could find this online in gray market dealers, and you're not going to pay the $2,100. I've already seen it online for cheaper. So I think that you can get a good deal with this one for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, last question. Would this watch get regular wear in your collection if you were to pick it up?
I think it would, because I'm a dive watch person. I have lots of divers because I like dive watches. This is a tough one for me right now specifically because I have a lot of blue divers. So I am like, yes, and
type is what I'm
hearing. Very wishy-washy today. I'm like, yes and no, yes and no. So I think this would get a lot of wear in my rotation had I not already had a bunch of blue divers. But I personally, I still like this watch. I like the aesthetics of this watch. It's a beautiful watch. So I honestly think that I would wear it a lot. The sizing was okay at 42. Do I wish it was 39? Yeah, I do. I wish it was 39 millimeters. Maybe they'll make one someday. Yeah. But that being said, the 42 fit me okay. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wishy-washy on this one. The colors are perfect. The style is perfect. I love the way it photographs. I love the way it looks in the light. Like, I love just playing with this watch in different light, in direct sunlight, and, a little bit of darkness by candlelight. I really enjoyed seeing how different the blue was. It's absolutely stunning. The only thing, and like you said, we're both dive watch people. We have too many dive watches, if we're being honest, and not enough all at the same time. So I don't mind the size. I don't mind the bulkiness of it. I say I don't mind the size. Like, the size was okay, and it's not it has nothing to do with like the case size, the lug to lug. Like it really did sit
on the edge.
It pushed the edge.
Yeah.
And I worry that, on a hot day, something where I'm already a little uncomfortable, like if we were to walk outside right now, I worry that about the comfort of that, because I'm already to a point where, during summer, I like to wear my watches quite a bit more loose, just because of the humidity here. And so if I have it wearing more loosely, how would that lug to lug feel, being able to actually kind of spin it on my wrist a little bit? It would probably be quite uncomfortable. That being said, I would be curious. I do agree. I wish that they did it in a 40 or 39 millimeter. I think that's like kind of that really sweet spot, but I would not rule out the 37.5. I might actually, see if I can find some place to try it on just out of curiosity, because, the way that the lug to lugs are designed, it wears so much bigger than you would think it does.
So the 37 might actually wear bigger.
I would definitely consider the 37.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, I mean, neither of us wear small watches, typically nothing under 40 millimeters, very rarely under 40 millimeters.
Yeah.
So I would consider the 37.5.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe we'll get the chance to check one of those out at some point in time. So that being said, do you want to go ahead and jump into just some of your overall thoughts? I know you went over just a lot of them. I don't want you to like repeat yourself. We probably should combine these last two questions, to be honest with you. But anything else you want to add to that?
No, I mean, honestly, thanks to Rado for sending this over to us. We really appreciated it.
Yeah.
For sure. And really enjoyed the time with it. I do genuinely like the watch. I feel like this review, it made it sound like we don't like it, but I do.
Well, we're being
really
honest.
Like this watch a lot. I think though that the questions we ask make it, and if anything, it proves that these are genuine questions that we would ask, because it makes us really sit down and think about it. Like, I mean, a lot of the points that we bring up are very valid points, but I mean, for some reason,
I'm to the belief that you can like a watch a lot, but it may not be for you. And I think with this one,
they're all for me.
we really, really like this watch, but we can admit that maybe this is not the best purchase for us personally.
Yeah.
I agree with all of your points. Again, thank you to Rado for sending it in, and maybe we can check out the 37 millimeter too and compare it to that maybe later on. But I'm excited to see where they go with this line, because again, this is my favorite collection they have.
Yeah.
And I think they do vintage really, really well. I love the styling of these watches. I love the color options that they do. The beads of rice bracelet, this oyster bracelet, they were both really well done. So I am excited to see what Rado does in the future with the Captain Cook line.
Yeah, and I mean, they've done several different variations of it since they reissued it. There's a bronze version of it as well, since bronze is such a popular color.
And it's beautiful, in my opinion.
Yeah, I will say, like, we talked about in the beginning, Rado prides themselves on being innovators when it comes to materials. And this ceramic and the bezel was like no other ceramic bezel that I've messed around with, honestly. Like it genuinely seems very different than anything else out there.
Yeah.
So you can see where like they're true innovators in certain aspects of it. Yeah, I'm curious to check out more later on. I definitely would love to see where it goes and to see kind of how they continue to push the vintage reissue, especially when it comes to a dive watch. I think this is nice. It doesn't look like a vintage reissue at all until you mess with it in person and like see subtle things like the way that the bezel is designed. That's a very vintage reissue design.
It is, and
with the concave.
And I think that, especially like this watch on a beads of rice bracelet, I think has that vintage appeal. On the oyster bracelet, it's a little bit more newer, up to date, but it's very tastefully done. And I want to end on just something I want to reiterate on the show is we do not get paid for these reviews.
No.
These are our honest opinions, and they don't give us watches. We send them right back. Sometimes we have them for just a few days, so we're like rushing to wear the heck out of them and get our thoughts. But so I just wanted to make that kind of clear to everybody that listens to the show.
For sure.
All right. Well, again, thanks, Rado, for sending the watch in. It was fun to play around with, and so was the others that they sent as well.
Yes.
And check out, I'll let you end the show. What am I doing? You're the expert here.
Right.
You're I don't know what to say.
Let's very loosely say expert. So Kat doesn't even know our website.
What is how do you spell it again?
I was like, wait, what? For real? When you said what is it? bracelet. Dang it. All right. So obviously we will have all the show notes that'll have, some more extensive pictures, things like that on our website, which is www.tennand2.com.
Good to know.
Got it.
Got it.
All right.
Writing it down.
I'm glad you got it. You can be sure you're following us along on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Tenn&2Media, spelled the same way, just in case y'all were wondering. Also, head over to our YouTube channel. We promise this video is coming. It's just been...
We pinky promise.
If y'all knew how long it took us to get the first podcast episode out, we're learning.
You would understand.
Yeah, we don't do this professionally, and we do it just ourselves. So, we're working on it. It really is coming. I promise. It's looking so good. So we're very excited. But go ahead and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, which is Tenn&2.
Yes, it's Tenn&2.
Thank you.
It's confusing because sometimes we have media.
It's the
I know.
The whole situation. Guys, if there wasn't already a Tenn&2 on Instagram, it would have all been Tenn&2.
This chick.
We tried.
She had one post
tried,
5 years ago, and she took the name Tenn&2.
We tried.
Anyway, I'm a little bitter about it still, apparently.
A year later, still bitter. It's fine. All right, but with that, we're gonna just go ahead and wrap this up. Oh, if you like what you hear,
yes,
not this last 2 seconds of it, because apparently we're just rambling at this point. If you like what you hear, first of all, subscribe to the podcast on your podcast player of choice. Leave us a review, leave us a rating. It helps people find our podcast easier, especially since it's spelled a little differently.
Yeah,
but also share it.
Yeah.
Share with your friends, your watch friends, because otherwise, your regular friends would think you're just as crazy as we know we all are. But share it away, and I think that's it.
Yeah, talk to you next week.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.